you will be here on Thursday, and this is a plan of MPP and the Slovenian National Emergency Plan, where you have here a precautionary action zone, 3 kilometers, where evacuation and ITDB, iodine thyroid blocking, is planned. And then you have 10 kilometers where you have sheltering, and that means urgent protective actions, but first sheltering with ITDB blocking. And then if you look at the Croatian plan, which is about, Zagreb is about, I don't know, 15, 20 kilometers from the NPP, they have sheltering zone in this area. So can you imagine that something happens and it will be sheltering here? People here will be asking, what about us? Because people here will be sheltered. So this is a typical, and furthermore, if you look at Austria, Austria has more than 100 kilometers from Krško. They have a plan to shelter. So it's a typical example of not communicating and harmonizing, at least the philosophy of protective actions. And there's a lot of work to do that those three countries will talk and harmonize. But the agency is striving even more that it will be, philosophy would be harmonized among countries. You remember Fukushima? US government decided at that time and gave instructions, all US citizens from 80 kilometers from Fukushima need to move out. Can you imagine the Japanese population, if they heard this, Americans should go out and we are staying? So this needs a lot of international efforts that philosophy, strategy for the protection will be harmonized. Okay, now let's continue now with what the agency is doing in case of emergency. What is the agency role in EPR? I will try to explain, to tell you, to discuss with you functions in response, IAEA functions in response. I will tell you a little bit about the Incident and Emergency Center. And at the end, what are the agency functions in preparedness? As Abel told you, all functions of the agency are based on the statute. They are based on the conventions as well. And they are based on the decisions of the policy-making organs, which is the Board of the Governors, which is the General Conference. In response, we have 5 functions. First, notification and official information exchange. So if, in case, let's say in case of Fukushima, we were informed, and then we distributed the information to other member states. There was a slight problem because for quite some time we were getting all the information in Japanese. And of course, we engaged all our Japanese colleagues that they were translating this information. The second function is assessment of potential emergency consequences and prognosis of possible emergency progression. That function was not the function of the agency before Fukushima. But when we had briefings for the member states, for the permanent mission in the agency, when we have press releases and press conferences, they were all asking us, but what will be the consequences? What is the possible or likely progression of the emergency? Answer at that time was, we don't want to speculate. However, it was clear that member states, they want our assessment of possible consequences and likely progression of the event. So the Board of Governors and then General Conference, as I said, one of the three items we need to obey, statute, conventions, and decisions of policy-making organs, decided that we will have, agency will have that function as well. Provision of public information is also one of the functions. And we did that in Fukushima, we did that in Chernobyl, so we do have our press conferences, press releases. Provision of assistance on request. That's operationalization of the assistance convention. If you have a problem, you have emergency, you have a problem, and you need assistance, you request assistance from us, and we will try to coordinate assistance that it will be delivered to you. And you will see a little bit more, you will hear a little bit more later on what system we have. And coordination of interagency response. Very important. Can you imagine what would be if we would say something, IEA, WHO would say something else, FAO, you know what's FAO? I mean, I will be talking most probably Chinese. FAO, WMO, IMO, ICAO, NEA. These are all acronyms of the key international organizations that have a role in case of emergency. So it's WHO, World Health Organization, FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, WMO, World Meteorological Organization. Each of them, they have their own mandate, their own functions. However, after Chernobyl, soon after Chernobyl, they agreed that they will have a committee which will coordinate interagency response within the UN organizations and later on with other organizations as well. It was created as an ad hoc temporary committee. And my experience is that temporary solutions are forever. Once you fix solutions, they will change, but temporary solutions are forever. And this committee still exists today. Interagency Committee on Radiological and Nuclear Emergencies. Now, regarding each of the functions, notification, information exchange, we do that through official designated contact points. Each member state, or in fact each state even, if they want, they announce for us contact points. And we communicate through these contact points. This is in the framework of the Early Notification Convention. All parties to the Early Notification Convention need to provide us with a contact point. And all other member states, all states may also do that. And then all possible communication channels exist. It used to be fax, used to be primary communication channel in old days. Now fax is only for the backup. And for the few countries which do not have yet a good system in the country of emails internet system. But otherwise, fax is only for the backup. Email, telephone, and we do have a web-based information exchange. It's a software, unified system for incidents and emergencies, and it is protected website, so it's not publicly available, accessible, but it is for the contact points, official contact points. All the information you can find there, if there is an emergency. And here you have just the first page of the UZ website. It's a voluntary base, and through this website, exchange of information is going on. There is a separate website for public, and this system can be integrated with the national information system, and there is a separate website for training. So when you are doing training, you are not using the live website, but there is a training website. Assessment and prognosis. As I told you, after Fukushima, we got these tasks, and you can see here what set the action plan on nuclear safety after Fukushima, approved by the Board of Governors and General Conference. The IAEA Secretariat to provide member states, international organizations, and the general public with timely, clear, factually correct, objective, and easy understandable information during a nuclear emergency on its potential consequences, including analysis of available information and prognosis of possible scenarios based on evidence, scientific knowledge, and capabilities of member states. After Chernobyl, there was a Fukushima ministerial conference where ministers came to the conference and they were discussing, and I was really amazed with, and then at the end they accepted a declaration. I was somehow really amazed when I have seen one item, one of the first items in the declaration. And that is what Abel said that Fukushima showed. Accidents can happen. Jesus Christ. Ministers, after all those times, found out, politicians found out that accidents can happen. Unbelievable. we created also an assessment and prognosis website. Now, we used A and P means assessment and prognosis. It's just a short for the assessment and prognosis. And there is a website on the, and all the tools we are using are on this website. Because one of the things which we need to, and which we needed to convince many countries, many member states, is that we will not make public our assessment without consulting with them. Because each country will do their own assessment. An accident state will also do their own assessment. And it would be very bad that our assessment would be different from their assessment. So there is a process in place that when first we cannot do our assessment without the data from the accident state. That's the first thing. Once we are getting to our assessment, and in producing this, we communicate all the time. All the time. And that's only in rare cases which may happen, is that we cannot agree on the assessment. Let's say that we cannot agree. So what then? Then it is a decision of our DG, because it is political decision. Shall we go out with this assessment which does not agree with the assessment of the accident state? I believe that will never happen, but because we need to be ready, to be prepared, that is the way how this will be solved. It will be a political decision of our DG to say, do we go out to the public with such assessment or not? Now, then there are different kinds of tools, reactor assessment tools, and if you are interested, you go to the site and look at it, at the example of visual outputs of such assessment and of those tools, critical safety functions assessment example. Again, go there, look at it. Automatic report generated, so reports are generated automatically out of this software. And which enables a consistent quality of those outputs. Then we do have additional International Radiation Monitoring Information System, IRMIS. This, for the time being, online dose rate measurements in Europe, for the time being. Only in Europe, a little bit, but all countries are invited, if they wish to do so, to join and to send us online data on the dose rate measurements. But we are also trying to enlarge with other kinds of measurements, automatic measurements like air concentrations and so on. So this is also available and will be available in case of emergency. Fixed and temporary fixed stations, mobile monitoring systems, backpacks, vehicles or aerial systems, handheld measurements, all those things can be input in this international information monitoring system. Provision of public information, timely, clear, correct, easy understandable classic and social media. So we are also dealing more and more with the social media, because nowadays that's quite crucial. Social media is crucial. And timely, fine, clear also, correct definitely, but easy understandable. That's quite a challenge. Easy understandable for whom? For the public, of course, for the public. So you need to take care of the language you are using. The language experts are using, technicians are using, is not good for the public. International assistance on request. State may request assistance, and the IAEA Secretariat performs initial assessment, transmit requests to states and international organizations. There is a special process, RANET, Response and Assistance Network, and then facilitates and or coordinates assistance on international level. Okay, so if I'm looking at you, I'm afraid that I will start to lose you. So I will tell you a story which happened 10 years ago, approximately. And you have seen the cover page on one of Abel's slides. I don't know why, but it's always weak. I was on duty, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, Sunday, when they called me. We just got a fax from Chile. They had an accident. What shall we do? I said, give me the phone number of the Chilean regulatory body. And I called them at 2:10 in the morning. I said, it's Sunday, it's morning here, it's evening with you. You are telling me what happened, so let me come back to you in a few hours. At 7 o'clock, the Incident and Emergency Center was activated. At 7 p.m. that day, we were already flying to Chile. 2 from Vienna, 1 from Paris, 1 from Brazil, 2 from Argentina next day. Because they requested assistance of evaluation of the situation. So what happened? There was a construction of the factory, and they were doing radiography. It was 9 in the evening. It was one tower, and they were doing the radiography on the pipes on that tower. Under always time pressure. They stopped doing, they make 3 exposures, they stopped doing, and they moved to another tower. Next morning, I'm walking around, not me, a worker, walking around this tower up 20 meters up in the high. And I suddenly found on the floor a shiny piece of metal, like this. I'm looking at this, what it is. Look, in my back pocket. After 10 minutes, it started to burn. So I'm taking it out. I said, what is this? And I'm looking here. Then you come. You come. I said, look, what is this? Do you know what it is? You take it, you look at it, you look at it, and then at that time I'm already starting to feel like itches here. I said, okay, that's dust. I go down by the stairs and wash myself. And I leave you up with this. After 5 minutes, you said, he's not coming back. You go with this down, and you met me and give me back. I give you back. So I take it, then you come. Yeah, you come. I said, look, do you know what is this? Yeah. No. But I'm sure our director, he knows what it is. He knows everything. So he knows what to do. Let's go there. Let's go to his office. So we are all now three going to his office, but then you said, I need to go somewhere else, and you said, I need to go somewhere else, so I'm alone. And I go to the office of director, and I'm showing to the directors, so look what I found. By chance, next door office were workers from Finland who had alarm dosimeters. So alarm dosimeters, they went off. So one came to the office of director, and when he saw this, he knew immediately. And he just shouted, run! So everybody runs, and I'm staying with it still there. So I go down by the stairs on the yard, and then suddenly somebody says, throw this into the pipe. There was a pipe, empty pipe. So I'm throwing this in the pipe. And then a radiographer comes by. And I explained to him, I was wandering there around, what happened. He went down to the pipe, took a survey meter, and of course it was. He went back to call his director, and then director personally came with the empty container, go with the bare hand, took the source and put into the container. Okay, the emergency is over. There is no hazard anymore. However, a few hours later, I'm starting to vomit. Where is he? He's getting burns. So they took them to the hospital. That was Thursday. They took them to the hospital. On Friday, they moved them to the main hospital in the Chile capital. And then what used to be very seldom, the regulatory body immediately called us. It used to be that we got that kind of information late where nothing could be done. But this time, we got it immediately, and in less than 24 hours, we were in Santiago. Tickets, money, visas, everything in less than 24 hours. And the flight is 10 hours. Or so. So we had an expert from Paris, from the most famous hospital treating the radiation injuries, Percy Hospital. We had experts from Argentina for biological dosimetry, two very expert, nice ladies. I mean, professional, really good professionals. And a doctor from Brazil who was treating Guayana patients. And when we had all the interviews and all the, so that I was there as a physicist to reconstruct the accident and to estimate the doses. And they decided, the doctor from Paris said, we need to operate here, because he put it in the back pocket. But the Chilean doctor said, but we can do that. It's not a problem. And the doctor from the Paris said, yes, I know, you can do it. However, you don't know how much, how deep. So it's up to you, but I suggest that we send the patient to Paris, where they did all the dose calculations, all the dose reconstructions, because he said if you would take not enough, it will be a big problem later. If you take too much, may not be a big problem, but he will have such a hole in his back. At the end, it was about 5 centimeters, like this, 5 centimeters deep. They operated, and the guy is still alive. So that was one of the successful missions and example of RANET, Response and Assistance Network, where 3 countries plus the agency in a coordinated way assist the country. And that's the example, exactly the example. You see, it was here somewhere where they lost. And what happened is that the source fell out of the container and fall into the tube. And then when they disassembled, it was night, the source fell out of the tube. And that's the person who was handling the source looking, and that's after the operation on the butt. So, aim to provision of requested international assistance, enhancement and harmonization of response capabilities, exchange of relevant information and feedback experience. That's why RANET is. And the last function is coordination of response, of interagency response. We do have, we means interagency agencies, key agencies. We do have our Joint Radiation Emergency Management Plan. And these are all the agencies which are part 18 now. It used to be only UN agencies, but later on other agencies joined, like NEA, Europol, Interpol, all the rest are still UN. CTBTO, yes, CTBTO, and NATO. Latest is NATO part, civil part of NATO, which is this civil part, which is for the assistance. And these are the regular members of the interagency committee. And then we have also corresponding organizations, which are UNSCARE, but they do not have response function, except maybe International Red Cross, but they don't have response functions in the response to the accident. They do respond because of other reasons. So all the plans are done, all the procedures and plans are done in the way that we try to achieve synergy and speak with one voice. That does not mean that only agency IAEA is speaking, but one voice means that we are informing the people in a harmonized, consistent way. Let's say, just an example, we have a procedure that in case of emergency, like Fukushima, and we did that at that time, somebody, usually NEA, because NEA is Nuclear Nuclear Energy Agency of the OECD, they do not have a response role, but what they did, we agreed, what they did, they went and they analyzed all our websites of all the international organizations, talking about the radiation and Q&A questions, so that it was consistent, not that one side would say something and another side would say something else. All these functions are fulfilled through incident and emergency system and incident and emergency center, which is the custodian, the focal point of the system. So incident and emergency center implement functions of the IAEA functions in EPR, and is focal point for EPR and custodian of the system. Here you see our operational room. And that is the actual photo from responding to Fukushima accident. Okay, mission statement, you will read yourself. Then we have a response structure. We have on-call system, warning points, and on-duty system. Warning points means that it needs to be 24 hours, 365 days per year. But on-call, they are emergency response manager, logistics support officer, radiation safety specialist, nuclear installation safety specialist, nuclear security specialist, external event specialist, and public information officer. These are all officers that are on call, means they are available anytime. Now, with all those devices, that's easy. It was not that easy 15, 10 years, 20 years ago, but nowadays, no problem. We do have 3 types of modes of working: normal ready mode, that's everyday, day-to-day mode; basically response mode, where the center is staffed during the working hours, but it's not staffed off-site the working hours. And full response mode is 24/7 in shifts. If you would ask me a little bit more than 6 years ago, is it possible that the center will be 1 month in full response mode? So 1 month, day and night. I would most probably say no chance. Most probably. It happened. Starting with 11 March, we were more than 1 month in full response mode because of the Fukushima, 2011. Now, what we do in normal ready mode, focal point for incoming messages, staff during working hours, on-call officers initiate response and activate IEC if needed. UN Security Control Center serves as a 24-hour focal point. In basic response mode, is focal point for response. Members are activated to perform response tasks on duty officers. Assistance missions may be deployed on request, but IEC is not staffed 24/7. Warning point and on-call officers continue to be available, and in the full response mode, we work in shifts all the time. Statistic of the responses. Blue, this is recorded events, all events. So if you see 200 more than per year, any kind of events which we became aware of, recorded events. But red are responses with IEC response, where we do something. Even if we offer only good offices, because first thing what we do when we know we offer our good offices. What that means? That means that I offer my desk and chair. No, it's a term saying, hello, we are here. If you need any assistance, let us know. That is explanation of the term to offer our good offices. And then here in gray, it's how many times per year we do offer good offices, and in yellow means assistance missions. So on average, at least once per year. It may happen, let's say in 2015 there were none, but otherwise 2016 1, 2014 2, 3, 1, 3, 1. So it's 1 to 2 on average assistance missions per year. Example of responses, many, some of them were mentioned by Abel as well. So how the response to Fukushima started, 11 March, 5:46 UTC, now I'm talking about UTC, and there was quite some confusion for brief time between the local Japanese time and between the UTC time and Vienna time. So one of the practical things is you need, when you communicate among you need to agree on what time base you will use. In one country, it's not a problem. It's always more. But even in one country, if it is a big country like US, they need to agree on common timing. Approximately 1 hour later, from the earthquake, on-call external event specialist informed our on-call ERM, Emergency Response Manager, about the earthquake and about possible damage at 4 MPPs and potential for tsunami was anticipated, approximately 1 hour later. At another half an hour, at 7:21, IEC made first phone contact with the METI NISA, that is with the regulatory body at that time in Japan. And 8:20, that means approximately less than 3 hours later, already full response mode was declared, because at that time already there was tsunami was there, and we knew that there is no electricity. and there is no way of cooling. And no way of cooling, you can easily predict cold melt. So we were already in full response mode. We were 54 days in full response mode. More than 230 staff worked in the IEC in shifts. From May to December, there was the basic response mode, and nearly 1 year later, okay, not 1 year, but in December, then again we came back to the normal ready mode. We were, until December 2012, we were liaising with the Permanent Mission of Japan and counterparts in Japan, and continuing to prepare and publish status summary reports on Fukushima, and we did close to 200 status summary reports. Few photos from that time. Now, in preparedness, what is our role, our function in preparedness? Developing standards in EPR, related safety standards, guides and tools, capacity building in EPR, assisting member states in establishing or enhancing their EPR systems, providing appraisal services, I mentioned EPREV, emergency preparedness and response review services, maintaining interagency response preparedness, and maintaining IAEA in-house preparedness. Standards, guides, tools. Here, capacity building, development of human resources, organizational and structural development using 10 steps EPR preparedness process I was talking in the morning. Institutional and legal framework development, enabling responding organizations at all levels and in all sectors to enhance their capabilities. And you again, in the Assistance Convention, there's one article saying if party to the convention needs assistance in preparedness, they can request from the agency. One example of the human resources capacity building is School of Radiation Emergency Management. That one was in Austria in October 2016. 2 to 3 weeks. School similar to the school you are now in. Training in monitoring. These photos were taken in Chernobyl exclusion zone. And together with the Japanese government, we established a capacity building center in Fukushima. So nowadays, that kind of training can also be done there. And then exercises. I was telling you already about the exercises a little bit. And we have 3 levels of the exercises. Convex 1, Convex 2, Convex 3. Convex stands for, X stands for exercise. Conv for convention. Exercise under those 2 conventions, early notification convention and assistance convention. The first one is only to test emergency communication links. The second one to test whether response times to notification are adequate and to drill and use of, I did not correct this. It's not ANATOM procedures anymore, but they are USI procedures. Okay, USI, it's USI. and Convex 3 to test emergency response arrangements in severe radiation emergency, regardless of the origin. Mostly MPP accidents, but there was one Convex 3, which every 3 to 5 years, where we tested response in the case of dirty bomb. In 2008, it was Mexico. In Laguna Verde, Mexico, Laguna Verde MPP. 74 member states participated and 10 international organizations. And always, when we are preparing this, to prepare this kind of the exercise, it takes year and a half. They are always based on the national exercises. If a country is doing national exercise, we say, are you willing and able to offer us that we build international part on your national part? And there's always some issues to be solved. Let's say here, the emergency plans were done in the way that the plume stops at the 16 kilometers. Plume, if they have a release, does not fly further than 16 kilometers. That was the emergency zone, emergency planning zone. And it needed some convincing that plume will not stop at the 16 kilometers. Then in 2013, it was Morocco. Morocco has no power plant, so they offered us to have, first time, to have an exercise based on the dirty bomb. And it was quite inspiring because it was the first time where we tried to get into connection to communicate safety authorities and security authorities, which could be quite tricky. And then the last one, I should never say last one. Last before last, let's say. That's how Brazilians are saying. If you have a beer, they will never say, drinking beer, let's have last beer. They would never say last beer. They will always say last before last. So it was Hungary, so Europe. It was June this year, and the goal was, the goal of this, my goal, the main goal was, did we learn anything from Fukushima? As I said, exercise is not a training event. It can be also a training event, but mainly it's not a training event. With the exercise, you test your system of response. And when you evaluate, you are not evaluating persons, how good they responded. You evaluate the system and see the weak points. Exercise which does not show your weak points is good for nothing. Waste of time, waste of money, waste of resources. Exercise needs to show your weak points because only this way you can improve. And then we also assist member states in the preparedness stage, and we developed also an EPR information management system, APRIMS, maybe some of you know. But also here, of course, we assist only on request, only if you ask us. Appraisal services, emergency preparedness review service, flexible scope, as I already explained, strengths and opportunities for improvements are identified. As I said, again, only on request. This year, there was a EPR mission in Slovenia, they requested, and when you will be in Krško, maybe just ask how this appraisal service went. Interagency response, I already talked about it. We have plan, we have procedures, we exchange information, experience, regular meetings. And of course, one of the key things is in-house preparedness, maintaining EPR arrangements, regular training, proficiency tests, exercising. All these are part of the in-house. Because the IEC itself, the Incident and Emergency Center, has very few staff. It's not numerous staff. That's why there's a system. The whole staff of the whole agency plays the role if needed. And again, remember this email if you need any additional information. You can follow IEC on the website, on Twitter. I'm hungry. Not enough, I'm hungry. Yes, of course.
So that online system, when you got it,
Yes.
can you use it for this example of that?
Cannot be used. These are the systems of the national. This is not the agency system. But if you have such a system in a country, you